Okay, guys, we are going to now look at our kingdom protist, but look at our animal like and fungus like protists. So let's go ahead and jump into this PowerPoint. So when we're looking at the taxonomy, again, we're in the domain Eukaryota, or that they are eukaryotes. Again, there are 6 supergroups, and we're in the kingdom Protista. That is sort of that junk drawer category of organisms, right? Things that don't fit in plant, fungus, or animal. And today we're going to focus on our animal and fungus like protists. So, again, plant like protists, we call them algae. They're autotrophic and they make their own food via photosynthesis. And then our animal like and fungus like protists are heterotrophic. They have to ingest their foods. Um, so let's take a look at these animal and fungus like protists. We call them protozoa. And protozoa means pre animal. And they get this name because many uh, species behave like tiny animals, which means like specifically they'll hunt for other microbes as their food. And we saw with our algae, we sort of categorized them by their photopigments, but protozoa, we will categorize by how they move. So let's again look through our super groups. We have SAR, um, and we're going to look at alveolata. So if you remember um, that alveolata have these uh, little air sacs under their membrane. And we're going to specifically look at our ciliates. And ciliates move with cilia. And we're going to look at some videos of paramecium. And paramecium is going to be this organism, sort of like tubular shaped, that has cilia all around its body. Our ciliates are the most abundant protozoan group. And again, they move with cilia, which are just these short hair like filaments covering the cell. And they also have a pellicle, so that protein outer coat that gives them um, that sort of structure, but it's still bendable. They eat food through their oral groove and gullet, which you can see in the top picture is sort of like a little cavity that the food goes in, and then a vesicle is formed for them to digest that. And then they do have 2 nuclei. One that is going to be this large nucleus for everyday activities, just their normal metabolism and making proteins, making or their genetic code to make what they need. And then they've got this small micronucleus, which is only used for conjugation or their version of sexual reproduction, where it will actually have this micronucleus fuse with another paramecium's micronucleus, and then it makes a new macronucleus with a combination of DNA. Next, we're going to go to our supergroup excavata, and we're going to look at trypanosomas. So one really important thing to notice with these is that they are outside of the red blood cells. We'll see as we move through different protists and different other pathogens that Some will burrow into the red blood cells, but trypanosoma is going to be on the outside of the red blood cells. They are kinetoplasts, and they do have a flagellum to move. And that kinetoplast, if you remember, is just going to be this large chunk of DNA that they have in this one large mitochondria. Trypanosoma is parasitic. There's sort of two species of them that are dangerous to humans that we're going to talk about. One is Trypanosoma brucei, which causes African sleeping sickness. It's transmitted by the bite of the tsetse fly. It is a major cause of death in Central Africa. It causes a very high fever and bleeding and weakness. And then Trypanosoma cruzi, that causes Chagas disease, which is found in South America and is actually found in the southern U.S. now. We do have cases of it here in South Carolina. That's transmitted by the bite of what is called an assassin bug. They sort of look like stink bugs, but they will infect a human with a trypanosoma that lays dormant but causes enlarged heart, which can lead to just sudden death. That's why it's nicknamed the assassin bug. Now we're going to move on to our supergroup Amoebozoa, which includes amoebas. And we're going to have some videos on the D2L for you to look at our amoebas. They move by cytoplasmic streaming, which is just squishing their cytoplasm through their body, and they make what is called pseudopods, or these false feet. So it sort of looks like these little projection limb-like structures that they can then pull themselves forward. In order to eat, they do something called phagocytosis, which is where they'll actually surround and engulf their food. And then one example of a pathogenic or disease-causing amoeba is Entamoeba histolytica, which causes amoebic dysentery, which dysentery is a disease that will cause nausea and diarrhea and can lead to death. Moving on to rhizarians, we have foraminiferas, or they're just called forams. They are marine plankton, and they are our shelled amoebas. So they have that same sort of body shape that an amoeba has, but they have these shells around them. And they do have some pseudopods that will extend outside of their calcium carbonate shell or test for them to move. There are there are a lot of fossils that we find of our foraminiferas. They're an ancient organism, and a lot of geologists will really rely on looking at these fossils to determine age of other organisms also in the fossil record. The White Cliffs of Dover are made from dead fossilized foraminifera, as well as the rocks that make up the Egyptian pyramids. And then a lot of oil companies will actually look for the deposits of these in the soil as an indicator where to look for oil. Okay, so already that's it for our slideshow. But you'll want to go through and definitely look at all the resources to help you fill out your lab worksheets. And again, you're welcome to take these pictures from this PowerPoint to draw your organisms, or you can do a Google search. Just please cite where you got your pictures from. And if you have any questions, please feel free to to ask. You can use the discussion posts, you can email, you can come to office hours. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.